Don't blame Dae-ho. Ji-hun's plan in Squid Game Season 2 had a much bigger flaw. It's unfair to blame Dae-ho's apparent cowardice or post-traumatic response in the Squid Game Season 2 finale without considering Ji-hun's flawed plan. At the end of Squid Game Season 2, Dae-ho reveals his true colors by failing to gather more ammunition for his fellow players turned rebels. This results in the execution of several players who follow Ji-hun's plan to fight against the pink guards and ambush the front man. There are signs that there is something up with Dae-ho in Squid Game Season 2, which raises the question of whether he was ever in the Marines like he claimed to be. Dae-ho has become one of the more controversial characters in the second season of Squid Game, with some viewers empathizing with Dae-ho's predicament while others criticize him for being a coward. The fact that there are two equal sides to the Dae-ho coin makes it one of the more intellectually stimulating philosophical questions that Squid Game Season 2 has to offer. Similar to Upham's failure to intervene as a comrade was killed in Saving Private Ryan, Dae-ho's inaction can be said to have caused the deaths of others. The truth about Dae-ho should be explored in Squid Game Season 3. Even if Dae-ho brought the ammunition to the other Squid Game rebels, it would not have affected the outcome of Squid Game Season 2. Once Dae-ho entered the safety of the players' quarters, he hid for cover beneath one of the bunk beds, exhibiting what appeared to be symptoms of past or present trauma. The fact that he didn't return with the ammo actually led Cho Hyunju, player 120, back to safety. She likely would have been killed with the rest of the rebels who stayed to fight the pink guards if she hadn't gone back to check on Dae-ho. Imagine that Dae-ho heroically returned with the magazines and was able to hand them over to Cho Hyunju and others in the nick of time. The gunfight would have continued and they could have taken out more pink guards. Even in the best-case scenario where Dae-ho was the hero, they would all have been walking into the frontman's trap. The frontman was the only person in control of the situation. More pink guards would eventually have arrived to kill Dae-ho, Hyunju, and others, or the frontman would have done it himself if they made it that far. Blaming Dae-ho for his apparent cowardice misses the entire point of Squid Game Season 2's ending. Whether Dae-ho was actually a Marine or not is one thing, but Ji-hun, as their leader, essentially walked them all into a trap because he somewhat blindly trusted young Illinois. There were enough signs for Ji-hun to suspect that young Illinois was not an innocent victim and fellow player, the most obvious being that he was wearing the same Player 001 uniform as Illinois Nam, the Squid Game's creator from Season 1. Young Illinois deceived Ji-hun, so the blame can't fall entirely on him, or Dae-ho. Casting blame on Dae-ho or Ji-hun for being sabotaged by In-ho isn't just. Yes, the actions and/or inactions of both characters cost people their lives, such as at the beginning of the rebellion when the O-team ambushed the X-team. Viewers can blame Ji-hun for allowing those murders to happen to spark the rebellion, just like Dae-ho can be chastised for cowering in a clutch moment. While both can cause outrage from an observer's perspective, they were acts of desperation in a hopeless situation. Ji-hun is typically praised for instilling hope, but In-ho made sure there wasn't a real chance. Following the rebellion in the Squid Game Season 2 finale, the pink guards arrive at the players' quarters to ensure that all remaining players are back in their rooms. Since Hyunju went back for Dae-ho, it seems as though she won't be executed like the two other players who surrendered. It appears that Dae-ho's cowardice or PTSD response lured Hyunju back to safety, even at the expense of the other players. It's tragic that those players died waiting for Dae-ho's help, and Dae-ho is not entirely innocent, but he will be alive at the start of Squid Game Season 3.